that. You can, start now. All right, everyone. Welcome to BizapaloozaChat. We call this BizapaloozaChat plugged in because every Monday we plug into some of the top hot topics for small business owners. And today it is all about brand advocacy and social media. This is such a big topic. And for that, I have invited the master of this topic, Shawn M. Miller. Shawn, is that how we do it? Shawn M? I think that's like part of your brand, isn't it?
That's my social persona, yes.
That is. And Shawn, you've grown that social persona organically. I have to admit that Shawn and I actually met at a sort of an intensive conference of sorts, a little tiny get together.
Yeah.
And you weren't on my radar until we met. But then once I got connected to you, I was really impressed with all the different things you've got going on. So, and Shawn, why don't you take us towards a quick bio? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Talk a little bit, especially about the celebrity entrepreneur, and then how you got from there to brand advocacy. And I also am going to say to people that not only is Shawn an expert in social media and brand advocacy and CEO of Celebrity, he is actually a Main Street business owner. He runs a gym.
Yep.
So Shawn,
Yep.
That's all I'm going to tell you people. I'm going to let Shawn take it from there. I'm going to check the tweet chat and say hello to some folks, but you tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so we're talking, not tweeting. You mentioned the Main Street business. My wife and I own Flex Fitness Center in Holland, Michigan, which is a hardcore weightlifting gym here in Holland in a small town. So I understand exactly what it's like to run a niched physical business in a small community. I know what that's like. We're in our 32nd anniversary, and last year was the most profitable year we ever had. So, we're doing well with that. It's sound, and we understand how to compete in that space, right? And with limited resources and all.
So 32nd anniversary, clearly you did not start this gym when you were two.
We acquired this thing. Yes, we acquired this dude 12 years ago now on its 20th anniversary.
Awesome. So talk a little bit about your CEO Celebrity journey. How did that come to pass?
Well, that came to pass from the context in which we met, in which the emphasis was very much on posture and positioning in a space, and perhaps in some cases, and this is tricky to say, in some cases perhaps past one's actual capacity, right? But the ability to put yourself in a position, perhaps exceeding one's expertise, if I can say that nicely, right? And so what we had there, though, all of that is correct, and it's absolutely beneficial and hugely powerful if one is of substance, right? And if what one does is provide significant value and is of substance. And the demonstration of that is amusing today, because the model that I used all along was Donald Trump. And I talked about being a primetime television star, and what that meant for his business, and the business valuation of the Trump brand is impacted in very significant ways. And what we're seeing now today is, depending on your opinion, but in all probability, right, a high likelihood that he will be the first person in the history of the United States to go from businessman to president without serving in any role in politics. It's never been done before, and it's based upon that celebrity status.
So that's really important, exactly, right? So this is such a perfect lead-in to actually question number one that's gone out which is, what is it that you know for sure about how brands are built today versus yesterday? So you kind of gave us a little bit of introduction around that. But
Sure.
what is going on? And I do not having a political conversation about this.
Yes.
What I want to talk about is what is going on inside of our heads? What is going on about how we assign credibility? What has changed in terms of building a brand? And I also want to know what brand advocacy is too. I'm sure everybody else does too. Because these are two words we know. We know what a brand is. We know what it means to be an advocate. But then somehow, like, you put them together and everyone has about a million meanings for that, right? So number one, what do you know for sure about what is going on? And number two, let's talk about brand advocacy.
So Q1, what do we know? If I say I'm cool, I'm a dink. Period. But if you say I'm cool, then I'm cool. Right?
If I say I'm cool, I'm a dink.
If I walk up and I tell you I'm cool,
yeah,
then I'm just a dink. Right?
As in, but not like a dual income, no kids kind of person.
Right. No, the dink like not
like
cool,
doofus.
like jerk. I'm just that's not okay, right? That's not. But if other people say that I'm cool, then I'm cool. You know, this is the key, really, to advocacy.
Is that what you're saying? We didn't used to have that before then.
Well, I think that's always been true. I mean, I think the word of mouth recommendation of a person, place, or thing is as old as, hey, this apple is good. You should try it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to manage.
I know, that's okay.
Our Twitter at the same time here, so
I've got it. I've got you covered, Shawn.
Okay.
I got you covered in all things. I want you to focus on your own brilliance, right? So I think the interesting story here is that, so on the one hand, you're running a health and fitness club and you're doing well at that, right? Then you step into this as a friend of mine likes to call it, vendor to expert place, right? You step into this firm belief system of the celebrity entrepreneur. What did you call it? The intersection of Main Street and Wall Street. What did you call that? There was an intersection statement.
Yep. Intersection of Wall Street and Main Street. That's absolutely true.
Exactly. So you step into that space, and actually, it's so funny that because that's how I met you, that's where you stand for me, right? And you've worked with lots of entrepreneurs, helping them transition themselves and transform themselves into a quote unquote celebrity in their space. So not necessarily Donald Trump style celebrity, but like in their region, in their hometown, right? And then from that point on, you actually went out and started purchasing. You bought a couple platforms. You bought Social Cloud Suite and Smync.
Yep.
Why did you do that?
Actually, I bought Social Cloud Suite because I was a customer of Social Cloud Suite, and I liked it so much that I bought the company. And that's just as simple as that is. And then the opportunity to connect with the guys from Smync, you know, I've known Jeff literally since 8th grade. So we had an ongoing relationship and conversation all through this process of the development of Smync. And what I understood was that Smync was sitting at the intersection of a number of significant trends. And, you know, so there are very, very significant changes afoot in social. And the things that, you know, simply is what we used to call organic reach is just plain gone, right? And secondary to that, then we have such a massive division today in all aspects of society, right? People don't trust companies, they don't trust brands, they don't trust They don't trust their leaders in government and politics, like we just talked about. Employers don't trust employees. Employees don't trust employers, right? There's a tremendous amount of division and distrust. And because of that, there's a return to this very, very fundamental word of mouth recommendation. And the shift is very, very significant and very subtle. But what it means is that people so distrust brands that it's common for, I mean, regular old everyday people to feel like it is now their responsibility to help other people that they care about find companies that don't suck. Right? It's become our responsibility, because we actually, people believe that marketers act with integrity less than 4% of the time.
Wow.
They trust that advertising is true less than 1% of the time. And that is so bad, if you will, that there's a counterculture movement that it's important, if I care about the people around me, that I help them find companies that aren't going to literally harm them, is the thinking.
Wow. So talk about how you got into the book. Let's talk about the book.
Right. So the book, very, very simply, I'm not tweeting. Am I to be tweeting?
You can be tweeting. Why? Because actually you can tweet, because we had the question out there of what's happening to organic reach on social, and you sort of mentioned that. So do an A2 and what's happening.
Okay. Sorry, I'm talking and not.
And that's okay. Isn't that this is what makes it fun?
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm doing what you want me to be doing.
I love it. I'm in control.
Organic reach died in 2015, and about 2 months ago, they just threw dirt over the grave.
I'd like to know how it is that you can dictate 140 characters.
Practice.
That's amazing.
I don't type on my phone. I talk to my phone.
You talk to your phone, and I don't do so well talking to my phone.
I almost never type on the phone.
I don't do so well typing. I mean, talking to my phone, because Siri doesn't know me.
I've learned to speak in a very specific way and speak in the dictation language. So
I can see that. Your tweet is perfect.
I actually have trouble now not saying, okay, Ivana, comma, period. I have to make sure, new paragraph, what we want to say is this. I have to make sure I don't do that, right?
I love that. I love that. Actually, so one of the things I talked about in terms of organic reach was this whole thing, and I want to hear more about what you say about this going into the grave, right? The algorithms are ruling the reach right now, right? Because clearly they need to make money. I really understand that, right? Yeah. So, so say more about organic reach and what you talk about in the book about organic reach.
Yeah. It's very simple. We spent a lot of time and effort building a following on Facebook, but it turns out they're the landlord and now they want the rent.
Woo! I wonder if that ends up out there, right? Well, this is this whole speaking to, and I want to talk a little bit about that. Let me see. I'm going to write something here. Rule the reach. I said, yeah, algorithms rule the reach, but what about direct, authentic conversation? What about that?
Oh, exactly. So that's what we call, in the book, we use the term vanity metrics. And we talk about the reality is that the metrics that we have attempted to apply to social are the same metrics that were created for advertising in the 1960s. and they don't translate to social, and they don't work at all in an environment in which there is no trust. So you talked about the axis of evil in the book of distraction and overwhelm, and right, and you can have all of the traffic that you want, right, or all the traffic you can even fantasize about, but without trust, it's all useless.
I'm saying on here, one of the questions is, that brings the question of what's the best way for a business to control their marketing? And I'm saying that really the best way is to engage, and through that engagement, get people to seek you out, right? So it's flipped. You can't make people do anything. They have to want to be with you.
Yeah.
Right?
The reality is your brand is what they say it is. Period. Control is an illusion.
I think I'm going to write a book about how Shawn speaks and tweets.
Right, but I mean, Jeff Bezos says that, your brand is what they say it is. A lot of immature business people worry about their brand message and controlling their brand message, but that's all an illusion. They never could control their brand message. They can't control their brand message. And any endeavor to do that is just a push, right? It's just a push marketing. And push marketing is as dead can be.
Yeah, push marketing is dead as dead can be. So, I see everything is coming through here really well. People are just watching this. I think we got people watching, so we should definitely be chatting it up.
All right, we're trying to do it all at the same time.
We're trying to do it all. So hey, all you watching people, no, this is the fun thing, right? Yep. So how does a small business control their message? How is it? So let's talk about what is brand advocacy. How do you control the message? You can drive people by engaging with them and getting them to follow you. How do you control the message?
Well, you can't, right? You can't control the message, and the reality is that that's just fact, right? It is, you are what they say that you are, and so what we want to do, the crux of brand advocacy and the crux of the book is a restoration of relationships and ending any us versus them in your marketing.
I love that.
Right? So.
Got it. That's awesome. Shawn.
The key to creating advocacy is first ending any us versus them in your mind and in your marketing.
Yeah, you are so tweetable. Everyone's retweeting you. Everyone is saying yes, what he said. That's awesome.
We're on trend.
We're on trend, right? So, so you talked about the it is what you say it is, and there is no such thing as controlling the message, right? Mm-hmm. So, should I ask you about the axis of evil?
Sure. So the axis of evil is the result of distrust, overwhelming communication volumes, right? Mm-hmm. And then the resulting lack of real connection to those messages that people perceive to be pushing into a marketplace. And when we tie that into these vanity metrics, and so you say people are on are watching us right now, right?
Okay.
So if I pull up my Instagram, let's just be honest, right? So I pull up my Instagram. Oh, that okay. Cool. Right? That's how we work. Now, did I get if I'm using traditional advertising vanity metrics, I've just given an impression to each of those swipes, right?
Right.
You know, and these people, you know, people still use ideas like, you know, you have 3 seconds to gain the attention of your marketplace. That's crap. I mean, it's ridiculous. You don't have 3 seconds to gain the connection or, you know, capture the attention of your audience. There's no way. I mean, maybe you have a third of the second, maybe. And so, and that, of course, coming from a place of almost absolute distrust.
Right.
So
So you can't
therefore,
trust vanity metrics, right?
yeah. So therefore, well, the marketer can't trust vanity metrics, but people feel they can't trust the brand, the message behind the brand, right?
Well, this brings us to the next question that's up there right now. What is an influential advocate?
Well, so here's what as I was flipping through Instagram, the things that legitimately caught my attention.
Great.
One post was from my daughter, and another post was from a favorite football coach that I don't actually know, but I sure think that I do because I like him so much and I follow all of his stuff, right? And the rest of it was utter crap that I could care less about, and on it's gone. And those are the people that I'm actually following, right? So what you have is the opportunity, the attention, the trust and attention in that type of environment can only be gained by 2 ways. It can be gained by somebody that I absolutely know, like, and trust, my actual own, real friends and or family, right?
Right.
Or somebody that I have such an extended relationship and an affinity for that I absolutely, believe that I know them and I like them and I trust them. And this is where, if we get into the finite, if we were doing a real workshop here, Ivana, and getting into detail, this is where a lot of the things of celebrity CEO still are applicable, or I wouldn't have written a book, I wouldn't be doing this tweet chat, and I wouldn't be speaking and doing all those things, right? So that thought leadership can still be created and is still valuable, but the way for it to best be communicated to the marketplace is by people that actually know me to people that they actually know.
And this is perfect because Tanya Parker says on the tweet chat, to the question, what's an influential advocate? She says this is going to be someone whose like for your product is genuine. The person is sharing information
Absolutely.
for their own reason. And I think that she hits upon the very thing that you're talking about, which is, let's just face it. I mean, even as a marketer, I'm just like so sick and tired of us pissing in our own pool. I mean, it's like we ruin everything. Anything that's good about Twitter and Facebook and genuine engagement with the people that we've met, it's like by blatantly promoting something, by crossing that line.
Yes.
It's like we're the ones who create the distrust. It's not like people want to distrust us. They don't. It would be a lot easier if they didn't. Right? And I would love it if I could trust anybody, everybody.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Right? So consumers would prefer to trust us, but they've been burned too often because we piss in our own pond.
Yeah, and this is multi-generational at this point. I mean, this is very, very significantly rooted in our culture. Right?
Right.
I mean, this is we're in the second swing back of pendulum, and we've learned not to trust institutions like the government, the church, the big companies. Our parents taught us that. My parents taught me that. I'm 45, and my generation, Gen X, we learned that we couldn't trust people. right? We got burned by our heroes. And so we went from institutional worship to hero worship. We got burned by both. So now the result is, at the moment, we trust nobody.
Right, we trust nobody, and so, it's really, really interesting. I agree with you. I'm not a baby boomer, and I'm not an Xer. I'm somewhere in between. Depends on who you ask. I'm 1964.
Yeah.
So I'm 52, and I was in the first group where the psychological contract between a corporation and its employees was broken. This is when they had massive layoffs.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't care if you did good work. They didn't care if you were educated or not educated. None of that mattered. It was last in, first out. Really. Right? And so that was my group. And then you guys came along, and I think it's really humorous because when the Gen Xers came along, we all thought you guys were slackers. And now it's turned out that you're like not really as slackerish as we thought you were. Right?
Well, you know, the real key for Gen X is that we walk in the middle. And I talked about this in the book. It's very, very important because we understand we're not digital natives.
Right.
We're digital adaptives. So we're able to walk in between the the C-suite executives that are boomers in most cases, and the ones that are doing the work who are millennials in most cases, and we're able to translate,
right,
negotiate, translate, manage that transition. And so we're actually, Gen Xers are very, very valuable in the marketplace because of that.
Exactly. I think that's very, very well put. Back to the trust issue, I put up on question 5. How easy is it for customers to tell the difference between paid influencers and not paid? I think this speaks to your issue of trust and not trust. How does that work in your world?
Yeah. Well, let me paste. So that's
big question.
Question 3.
It's question 5, actually.
Okay.
How can you tell how blah, 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 blah. How easy is it for customers to tell the difference between paid and non-paid influencer?
Yeah. Well, the influencer space is changing dramatically right now because the FTC is now involved. So,
correct.
I want to add to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, paid social posts and videos are now marked as such, according to new statutes, period. And Facebook in particular is now tracking that as well, period. I don't have enough room for that. So, for those who are watching, the things that have happened is that the FTC has figured out that that's paid advertising.
Sure.
And they're requiring a demarcation as such, right?
And that's been going on for quite a few years. I mean, the FTC first started, when I was writing book reviews, we have a rule when we post a book review, like if you sent me that book,
yeah,
that I received that book. I have to say so. I received the book. In your case, I bought the book.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
I received it.
We like that. So one of the things you'll notice, just by the way, I'll say in a video, one of the things you'll notice is most of the biggest influencers now that are very popular, if you're in the social media world, are Canadian. They live in Toronto and Vancouver. And the reason that that's true is because they're able to reach the U.S. market, but they don't have to comply with U.S. law yet. In terms of...
Well, they've got something, Shawn, though. there is something going on in Canada. There's a Canadian rule too.
There's something going on, but it's different rules and different disclosures, and they're figuring that out. But the thing that just happened now, I mean, this situation changes daily in the social media world, right? But the thing that just happened now, about within 2 weeks, is that Facebook is recognizing those promoted or those paid posts disclaimer, and they've shifted those in the algorithm so they get hit to the same standard of not showing in newsfeed as any other advertising post, and the brand then has to come back and boost the influencer's post. So now you're not only do you have an FTC disclosure, but you also have a sponsored post disclosure, right? And there's really no question anymore, unless you're not reading that or don't care, that what you're seeing is in fact an advertisement.
But you know what I've noticed, Shawn, and boy, you've done research on this. I would really love to hear what you have to say about it. And I'm not the only one who noticed this, but I see it happening. I've noticed that, and again, it depends, right? If I am writing a sponsored post for a big brand, like I did with Canon,
like
I've done with some other brands, they actually do much better sometimes than my native content. And I thought that was really, really interesting. And I think there is something, and again, it depends on the brand. Is the brand trustworthy? Like, I would imagine if it was like some, you know, I don't know, if it was somebody that people maybe didn't recognize or know, they might not feel that way. But I think if it's a big brand and they see that big brand is maybe working with a smaller, more independent person, it seems to work in their favor.
Well, I'm sure you gain significantly from the Google juice of that brand identity, right? I'm certain. And don't get me wrong, an influencer marketing is still significantly more effective than normal paid advertising. I mean, a multiplication of more effective than normal paid advertising. But it doesn't hold a candle to a natural advocacy.
You know, I want to mention something. So when I was at Content Marketing World, one of the things, they had a guy there from Lego who was one of the keynote speakers. And he talked about reaching out to kids and families and moms and different things, right? And there were quite a few people that talked about, you know, getting unpaid advocates and ambassadors, right? And the folks that I was hanging around with as we got to talking about that, they were like, yeah, that's really great if you're Lego, right? And you've got millions of kids and now adults who have grown up with it, who are enthusiasts, who are all over the place, right? And you've got millions of customers, millions upon millions of customers worldwide, and you just need a fraction of people to participate in this as enthusiastic ambassadors. That's great. What does a brand do that maybe doesn't have that kind of reach or that kind of understanding, or quite frankly, that kind of enthusiasm for that, right? How does a brand leverage advocates? Because I think there are a lot of people who feel like I should be able to get, you know, I should be able to get free work from someone just because they like me. You know, there's not as much space for that. If you want someone to do massive amounts of work for you.
But that's part of the crappy attitude that we addressed right up front, right? That is not, you know, thinking that I can coerce some percentage of my customers to work for me. That's a really crappy attitude, and that is not us versus them. That is not co-creation, right? So
correct. That's my point.
What we're talking about is customer community and co-created marketing. So when they're speaking the jargon of trust, community, and advertising, or connection, they're using the words,
right?
They don't get it. Right.
That's my point exactly.
That's like the worst. I mean, if I could, I mean, like if they were in the room, I'd be like, that's the that you're strategizing in how to coerce people so that you can use them for your benefit.
Well, that's, I mean, and so, actually this is perfect. So that question 7 says, what's the best way to build a brand advocate community if you're starting from scratch with no budget, right? And what you're saying is...
So have you ever been to a restaurant and had the owner stop by your table?
Sure.
And were you not immediately like cool factor 9?
Exactly. Especially when the owner is like some hoity-toity chef and he's walking around and having like the whole conversation
right.
with you.
I love this dumpy Mexican place, and the guy's named Jose, as if right, of course his name Jose, and when I walk in the door, he says, "Shawn Miller, you are here," right? And I love that place. I advocate for that place, right? It's about having that type of attitude, though, right? It's about thinking that my customer is the greatest asset of my brand.
And see, right? Doesn't think this is important, Shawn, and I think that's what's really, really cool. Oh, great. So I just got word that my tweets are not visible on the Twitter stream. Great. Yippee. Anyway, this happens from time to time, and it's just the joys of Twitter. It's either, sometimes it's Bizapalooza that's not visible, sometimes it's me.
Okay. So what did I just say?
We were talking about this authentic thing, how you love this Mexican restaurant place because it's authentic.
So along with ending us versus them, comes a genuine mindset that my customer is my greatest asset. Right?
Right. So it's not and I think this is your Mexican guy, right?
Yeah.
He has not like looked at Twitter and said, "Oh my God, Shawn's got, 1 million followers, and when he comes in, I'm going to make sure that I say, 'Hey, Shawn, I'm so glad that you're here.'" Like, do you think he did that?
I'm not special. He doesn't care, right? I mean,
what does he care about?
I think he knows that I'm kind of a big deal in the community, but I think he just, he appreciates his customers, right? And he happens to have learned, he's learning people's names and he's embracing them and he's creating that connection and community. Right?
I'm saying, do for you. What you're saying is kind of like focus on your customers first, not just what they can do for you, right? And you're exactly right. When you get an email that is focused on, can you do this for me? Will you write about us? Will you retweet this? Would you do this? Would you do that? Right? That doesn't, you might not, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you have a relationship with someone and you've gotten engaged around their platform, and I can definitely say this about Little Bird. Julie was here earlier. She's switched companies now, but I was a huge advocate for Little Bird. I'm still a huge advocate for Little Bird because she took the time to get to know me and answer my questions, right? And the same thing holds true with Social Cloud Suite. I haven't played with Smync yet, but it's, all of this comes from the time that person took to care about whether I understood the platform. And the same thing with Nimble and John Farrar. These are folks who do what I believe that you do as a small business owner. You're reaching out to people, building authentic relationships, and that takes time. Nobody has ever said to me, "Hey, write about us," unless we've had this huge exchange up until then. Shawn, your bank account is pretty solid with me here. Right?
I'll try not to screw that up. So,
right. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's taken years to get to this point.
So let's talk about when we connected with us versus them. The way to understand this is the military speak. right? So most advertising marketing is operated in military speak from the 1960s. So do because we have a relationship and have trust, this is entirely different than if I were to launch a campaign against you.
Right.
Right? So now if I were sitting here going, I'm going to launch a campaign against Ivana, and in the next 90 days, I'm going to hammer her with so much targeted content that I'm going to coerce her to opt into my thing, and then I'm going to totally overwhelm her with it. Right? This is just yuck. Right? It's just yuck, and you can't. It doesn't work anymore. Right? And people don't want it. But that is the language. I mean, I believe that language is so important.
Oh,
And when we have, and I think even if somebody comes with the crappy mindset that we talked about a minute ago, if we approach the marketplace, we begin to do our work in our marketplace work, marketing work, in the language of creation and community and cooperation. We'll start to change our own minds, as well as influence the culture that is inside our organization. And that's just what's necessary today, right? What's necessary today is that we create an environment in which our customers want to advocate for us because, right? And here's the key motivation of an influencer, like we talked about, is to get paid. Right? The key motivation of an advocate is to help people.
right. And you can have both.
That's very clear. You can have both, right? But if you cannot buy my social capital with my friends and family.
Correct.
Right? You can't afford that.
Well,
right?
and the other thing too is I think that there's an assumption here, and I think this is really, really important, at least from the folks that I've talked to who do a lot of influence campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the folks that I talk to, and quite frankly, I mean, I think you could say this for celebrities too. They're very, very particular about the brands they support.
That's good.
I think most people are very, very conscientious about the brands they support. Do they fulfill, are they a philosophical match, and so on and so forth, right? Because, you're not really, and maybe I think that's a mistake. And I don't know if you and I maybe disagree fundamentally on this. I don't believe that it's easy to say that when you're paying for an influencer program, there are people that think that you're, what did you call it, buying that relationship or something?
I'm buying social capital, right?
Social capital?
I'm trying to buy their social capital.
I think what you're doing, boy, I'm going to be really fundamental about this. I think what you're doing is you're buying their time
mm-hmm.
to create content,
mm-hmm.
right? And the byproduct is, if it's a good fit between the brand and the influencer or ambassador or whatever you want to call them.
Yep.
Now you've got the best of both worlds. So I think instead of choosing people because they're celebrities, what they should be doing is choosing people who are already advocates of your brand.
Oh, absolutely. Right? That's absolutely true. And they're naturally so. And again, don't hear me saying that influencer marketing is not effective.
Right. Oh no. I mean, but it won't be effective for long.
It's not sustainable.
Correct.
Right? It's absolutely not sustainable, and it is of the same campaign mindset.
Correct.
Right? I'm going to find a strategic asset, and I'm going to launch a campaign against a certain market for a specific period of time until I achieve a certain goal. That's not a sustainable community. Right?
Right.
And it's the same command and control military mindset. So it does work, and it works tremendously compared to, a billboard. I mean, literally, probably 40x better than a billboard. I mean, I'm not kidding, right? But compared to a literally, a network of community-based followers, think about the Harley Owners Group as a model, right? I
Right.
mean, this is, this is BizapaloozaChat, right? We're talking about tattoo worthy, right? And
Right.
this is a tattoo worthy brand, right? And
Right.
and that's a whole level of advocacy, which is far beyond what most people believe. Loyalty is the pinnacle, and
Right.
loyalty is not the pinnacle of a customer relationship at all. Advocacy is.
Yes, agreed. So let's talk a little bit about what do you recommend that folks do instead? How should they be, how do they break through the noise, and how do you actually start connecting? And I mean, kind of think, somebody like, what do you do at your health club? How do you put this to work in your health club?
Mm-hmm. So the key is to invite people, and what Smync does, and maybe people know familiarity with things like the customer advisory boards and these sorts of things that people have done, sometimes, right? But rarely is that done on a consistent basis. So the key is to set your mindset and intention toward thinking of my customers as my greatest asset of my business, and thinking about my relationship with them as the most critical metric of the business, and inviting them to co-own that with you, inviting them then to co-create the marketing with you, inviting them to co-product develop with you, and allowing them to create exactly what they want, and just watch, right? How excited they are, how proud they are, how much they want to share that with people, right? That they've had the opportunity to be involved in something and be treated with respect, with care, right? And given levels to access to, not just customer service, right? I mean, not just a response to customer service, but an access to the product development engineers, right?
Right.
And this is a whole different level of interaction, and the response to that is to create a community that is really involved, and that, by the way, that includes employees, that includes stakeholders, right? Like vendors. And it can also include just strictly your community, right? If you own a physical business, your neighbors, your city, the people that are involved, they're all interested in the well-being of your business.
So how do you do that for Flex Fitness?
We invite them to. We have open doors. We have open social communities. They have access to, right? There's no handoff, right? There's no handoff of access.
Mm-hmm.
And we produce a culture. What's one of the things that it's funny how we learned this. You mentioned Flex, and we mentioned a long time ago now that it's 32 years old. We bought it after 20 years, and we bought it from a very dynamic individual. And us and him and everybody else was really afraid of what would happen without that dynamic individual. And what we recognized was that the business was much bigger than any one individual. It had to be much bigger than any one individual, and that community would actually carry it to a much higher level than what one individual could do.
So I have to ask you, because one of the things I really love, you have a habit of doing this, and you have just grabbed a hold of Snapchat in such a big way. And one of the things I really love that you do is you do these like snaps from the fitness center. And I don't know how many people you have enrolled, sometimes you used to do it on Facebook, but now you like really do it on Snapchat quite a bit. And I really have I don't like, what is that called? What is that stuff called? CrossFit. I don't like any of that stuff. But like, I'm like, dang, it looks like they're having so much fun there.
Well, they do, right? It's like a lot of places. It's a very, very niched place, right? It's a very, very small, very specialized niche place. And Flex in particular, this is the easiest way to describe it, and it's funny, but it's true. Well, Flex is the people that Planet Fitness makes fun of.
Okay, this is so good. How did you come to see that and say more about that? Because that is a huge community builder.
Oh, absolutely. And my community.
What's Planet Fitness? I don't even know if we have one around here right now.
Oh, they're pretty much everywhere now.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's. I haven't sent a tweet here in a while. Here, let's. I've been busy.
But you've been sharing good stuff, and I've been tweeting on your behalf.
Okay.
So Flex Fitness is the club. Go ahead.
Our Flex Fitness Center is a collection of the people that Planet Fitness makes fun of. Right?
Because that's gotta grab people and like, well, who are these people exactly? Since I don't know who Planet Fitness makes fun of, but if I were in that space, I would totally know that.
Well, you could look at any of Planet Fitness. The core of Planet Fitness's advertising. You could look at any YouTube copy of their ads or whatever. They actually have what they call a lunk alarm, and they literally have a siren and a flashing red light inside their fitness center. And if you make noise, or you sweat, or you lift heavy weight, or you do anything that anybody could find intimidating in any possible way, I mean, really, including sweating, they hit the lunk alarm. I mean, they hit literally a siren, and they throw you out of the business.
Oh my God.
Now, it's hugely popular because there's a huge number of people that are truly intimidated. They would be truly intimidated to walk into Flex Fitness Center, right? And I run into people. I run into guys who are training at other gyms to come to my gym. So I understand that, right? I understand that I have a special place, but there's literally a sign on the wall there,
right,
with one of those circles with the X through it.
Right.
And it is Flex Fitness Center's target market.
Right.
It's pictured there in a cartoon, and it said, "You're not welcome here." So the result of that is a division in the marketplace that we've benefited from greatly.
That's awesome. And that is this, how do you help folks find that special thing because I guess that was always there inside of your business, because I think that's how you get, like, as I have a few questions in here that you can even get to when we're done, around organic reach, because that's the epitome of organic reach. Like, and I tell people, you're going to have to send me a picture of this, because I tell people all the time to not be afraid of choosing a customer. In fact, when people say, I don't like that, I don't want to go there, you want to hear that, because that says clearly not for you. Yeah. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so they have done an excellent job of, marking their audience. And that audience is much larger in terms of numbers than ours, but they've also done an excellent job of marking our audience. And we're able to have a very great experience that those people really love. We get a premium price for that, and it works really, really well for everybody.
So grunting, grunting, sweating, those things are highly encouraged.
Anything that you would perceive to be, that guy's really working out hard, or that girl is really serious about this, they're not welcome there. But if you want to go walk on a purple treadmill, perfect.
Oh, okay. So I thought, wait a minute. I thought that see, you could tell I'm clearly not in the space. One could never accuse me of being a fitness freak. Are you saying that the Planet Fitness people, they don't like people sweating and grunting?
Right.
I got
Yeah,
that, right?
you're not welcome there. I mean, you're supposed to walk on a treadmill and eat Tootsie Rolls.
Okay, got it. And but at Flex Fitness, we want to see people like working hard and
Yeah,
doing what it takes. That's what I got. Okay,
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
awesome,
if you get
awesome.
thrown out of there, you'll love our place.
So, it always comes down to, let's talk a little bit about ideal customers, because this is kind of where we're going with brand advocacy, because that's where real, authentic advocacy comes from.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a part of this community. I like how it is here, whether it's Flex Fitness or your Mexican restaurant or, any number of businesses that we enjoy engaging with. Like, you genuinely feel part of it. Right?
Yes.
And in order to do that, you've got to be clear about who your customer is and what. Talk a lot about that, because that's where people get stuck, Shawn.
Sure. So you must have this feeling. Have you had the feeling where somebody asked your advice about a business and you didn't have a good feeling about that business?
Of course.
Right? And you literally feel you're upset. It's important to you that you help this person not go there.
Right, but then you don't want to slam the other business either. I don't feel right about that.
Well, I'm just talking about being as a person, just as a regular person, right? And somebody says, "Hey, have you tried that place?"
Right.
And you're like, "Oh, please don't go there.
Right.
You're not going to have a good experience there. Please go to my friend's business. You will love it." Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in its I mean that's a very simple definition of advocacy, but I
Right.
mean I feel I truly feel it's in your best interest that you go to my friend's business and that you not go to that one.
Correct.
Right? And nobody's paying me to say that, and they couldn't pay me to say it. They couldn't pay me to feel that. Right? They couldn't pay me to genuinely feel, "Oh, please don't go there." Right?
Right.
Nobody could pay me to do that. But if that's my true experience, and I really believe that's so, then I will make that word of mouth recommendation, right, in a very, very compelling way. And if they didn't know me, like me, and trust me, they wouldn't have asked me in the first place. So therefore, I'm not competing for attention. I'm not competing for trust. And my recommendation is almost 100% executable.
I think we live in a world where we want, the social media results, right? We're how do I say this? I'm going to give a practical example. I know small businesses who do Facebook advertising, and the whole thing is I will just throw money at it, and I want it to generate whatever conversions, let's call it, right? Conversions. And the advice I typically give is you can do that, and it won't make a dang bit of difference unless you're like authentically engaging with these people in some way, that they get to know you better or something. You're not going to get away from the engagement, right? So this idea, we have to give up the idea of being able to buy impressions, conversions, or whatever. Do we?
Well, yeah. And like I said before, you can buy all the impressions you want, but without trust and attention, so what, right? So that impression data is that's the same. That's the same old school stuff that they use to like sell stadium naming rights.
Right.
Right, and this sort of thing. Well, this, and they literally, this goes back to literally standing on a corner with a clicker and counting cars.
Right.
Right, and saying this many cars drove by the building or this many cars drove by the billboard, and therefore, well, it's damn hard to extrapolate from that therefore some percentage of those are actively seeking to buy that product and service and will do so in any foreseeable period. That's damn hard math.
Yeah.
I'm not good at math, but that's really hard math. right? And so the assumptions that marketers used to justify themselves and I did this too, right? And as an employee in a big company, right? The, the the metrics that we created to justify our existence, but they're not. It's not good math.
Yeah.
And it doesn't translate to social or the crap.
So what is good math for social? What are you using to measure social?
So with Smync, we measure actual engagement. We measure actual traction, right? And so we measure. I don't know why I'm not talking.
That's okay. Just talk. I'm writing.
I'm trying to
talk.
type.
I'm writing.
All right. So we're trying to measure
actual engagement like what?
Check-ins, mentions, retweets that come with comment. Actual social media if physical, if you will, social media interaction. And a like is an impression is utterly useless. A like is damn near useless. And unless they're actually commenting, mentioning, sharing with comment, checking in with comment, unless they're really, doing something significant, it's useless, and it shouldn't be measured.
Got it. So you're actually, when we talk about engagement, we're talking about like actual keystrokes, like not just scrolling, but actual keystrokes.
Yes. Well, and more. So Smync has a proprietary technology, which is hard to talk about in a chat. But if I actually want to recommend something to you,
mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go to your Facebook wall and post it there.
Correct.
Right? I'm going to email you probably. I might text you, mm-hmm. and I might send it in a direct message.
Mm-hmm.
The numbers say most commonly I'm going to email it. Now, it may have come from social, go into email, and then it may come back out in terms of a commercial action
mm-hmm.
by a consumer. Now, the whole industry calls that collectively dark social.
Ah, got it. Right, because you can't see it. Right.
Well, here's the thing is that Smync can see it. Smync has a patent in process on a process that I don't understand technologically, but I can tell you can track a social engagement into a digital message and back out into a documentable web traffic. So
it's kind of like what Nimble is to customer relationship management on the sales side. Smync sort of is for tracking engagement.
This is very, very, very significant. Twitter told us nobody can do this until we showed them how we do it, and they're like, "I'll be damned,"
Right.
Look at that, you did. So it's real, and it's a very, very big deal.
That's awesome. I'm telling you, Shawn, I cannot wait to learn more about this. I can't wait to see the thing in action. Right. Are you integrating Social Cloud Suite and Smync together somehow, or are you going to keep them separate?
Yeah, they stay separate, and I